Yeah, put it back.
World Wide Web, we love you. I'd like to introduce my interlocutor, Martin Belk, please.
Now, is this working? Okay.
Yeah.
I got to get my little Janet Jackson thing adjusted here. So, my mom's going to kill you.
Why?
You turned off the fucking picture.
I didn't. Oh, put the picture back.
Nah, go on. I'm teasing. No, it's funny. Dancing people behind. Now, see, we started this conversation. I can't see a damn thing. We started this conversation at noon today, so I don't really have a clue where to go with this. I was told by Michael March two or 3 weeks ago, read up on Junot Diaz. You're going to sit on stage with him and see what happens. So that's exactly what I'm doing at the moment. And I just feel like throwing this all, I got notes. I don't even know where to go. But I did listen the other day to yesterday, I think it was, up at the American Center. And you suggested 3 points in time, the past, the now, where we're selling everything and experiencing most of our culture, and the future. And if we could, with your permission, I'd like to kind of focus on the young and focus on the future and talk about writing and leave. If people want your bio, they could go online and get it. But I'd like to jump in there if that's if that's good for you.
Yeah, man.
Where do we start? Let's do a bit of a Czech connection. I mean, people have problem with Stoppard and his play about the Czechs, Prague Spring, but there's one line in there that really sticks out for me, talking about police harassing dissidents and things. And he says that the dissidents and the heretics give meaning to the defenders of the faith. Okay, so the dissident, the one with the voice, you know, gives them cause for their existence. Is that true today with writers who have any type of political charisma or courage, or do we need something different, new? Do we need a new attitude, as it were? Is that true today of writers like last year? Baha Tahir sat up on this stage, and he challenged everyone all the writers, that they were compelled to be active politically. And this was an Egyptian writer who was exiled. All his information's up on the Prague Writers Festival website. But I'm still stunned that now we're sitting on this stage, and he was right that change can occur because the Egyptian regime has been overthrown in just under a year. So do dissidents, do the heretics still give meaning to defenders of the faith, or are they winning?
I think that this is such a, thank you, Martin. I think that this question relies, to answer it would require like a sort of a kind of omnicognitive grasp of the world that I currently lack, which is a way of saying that one can only speak about a very specific moment. I think it have any sort of authority. I certainly, even to speak about a U.S. or a Dominican context would be very difficult for me. I do think, though, that the question at hand is, what really do we mean when we talk about civic participation? You know, one has to understand, at least in a Dominican example, that you know, what we would call the dissidents of the Dominican Republic, many of them were just on the extreme spectrum of civic participation and civic engagement. I think that most of us live in societies where we're being asked to just buy shit, but don't do anything. And especially don't do anything that might make a society slightly better. This is kind of where we're at, our current state of the world. It seems that rarely is a dedicated form of civic participation encouraged. the problem with civic participation, you guys, as you well know, is it keeps you from buying stuff. If you do a lot of kind of civic participation or civic engagement, you become a pretty bad market subject. You know, so I do think that, you know, the larger questions you asked at the end about the possibility of change, we see again and again and again young people sort of enacting impossible transformations. Unfortunately, what happens is that the transformation that we all need has to occur globally. Because already we see in Egypt, many of the gains are being quickly eroded. Women who participated fully in the uprising are finding themselves hemmed in on all sides. You know, my optimism is sort of strong in the sense that I just think that eventually we're going to get it right at the same time. We're all going to throw a really big, fucked up party at the same time, and things will really change. But our timing has been off lately, and I guess that's where my optimism lays, the day that the timing comes on and we all decide that things can be a lot better, and we all decide it at the same time.
Well, in terms of, it's interesting, the timing in terms, I had the benefit of being at a reading in New York that George Bush threw out of the White House because there would be some dissident voices. And Odetta, who I think she's not with us anymore, popped out on the stage and was quoting from Marianne Williamson. And I say this to hopefully reach, again, the younger of any age writers out there. The question that was put forth was, who are you to be, you said to me today, who are you to have your own point of view? Who are you to have an opinion? Who are you to be wonderful and fabulous and beautiful? And Odetta just looked at the audience quoting and said, who are you not to be? And in that, I've always come away with more of a sense, a heightened sense of responsibility with any action I might take myself. Do you carry something like that with you when you're even in your humor? Like Mark Twain said, the humor, there's a difference between a comic and a humorist. A humorist has an acute sense of his surroundings. A comic is just telling jokes. Does that resonate with you as you work, as you get up in the morning, as you go to teach at MIT, as you engage with young people? How do you get them, let me just boil it down here, how do you get them to read and care?
I'm always in the situation where, like, I noticed this, you know, we were young, and you notice one of the things that happens is that my sense, and my sense is not the only sense, this is not the only way to do it clearly, but what has worked for me whenever I do work with young people is rarely telling them anything. I mean, the world spends a lot of time telling young people to do shit. I mean, if young people get one more bit of advice, I'm amazed their fucking heads don't explode, you know? Or one bit of, like, prescription, you should do this. My work with young folks tends to be just modeling. You know, the only thing that I can do as a teacher, certainly as a faculty member and as a community, someone who does community work, there's material that you can teach. Yeah, like, I can teach
reading lists,
literature, I can teach short story, I can teach apocalyptic narrative. But really my job was, I think, best described by the American writer Samuel R. Delany when he said, really what we're here to do is to communicate our enthusiasm for the subject. I feel like I've gotten more people interested in reading by being able to communicate that I'm enthusiastic about reading and sort of leaving breadcrumbs around that people might follow the trail. In other words, leaving books around. But I've never been successful at advising somebody to read more. That almost never works, you know? But when people see that I'm happy, most people about reading, most people laugh and get back on Facebook. And every now and then there's like 1 out of 100 people who's like, why is this dude happy about reading? Let me try to figure it out. you know? I mean, it's a strange thing. I don't know, guys. It's a very strange thing. We're in an interesting place as far as I always think about the rhythm of the moment we're in. You know, reading books, the reading of a book is actually a really old rhythm. Like, this is something from the 17th and the 1800s. You know, that kind of pace, to sit down and to enter into the mind, to enter into the subjectivity of another person. What's happened now, of course, is that in the 21st century, the rhythm of the 21st century is so incredibly accelerated that it takes an enormous amount of discipline for anyone who lives in the 21st century to drop back into that more human rhythm. Because a book is a human rhythm. It was written, for the most part, our forms were written by people writing by hand. But the rhythm that we're living now is a machine rhythm, you know, which is, you guys know it, it's a machine rhythm. It's the reason so many people feel so stressed out. You guys, it's like everything is so accelerated. And even for me, someone who loves to read, it is remarkable how much energy I have to spend to bring myself back down to the rhythm that will be required to read a book. You guys heard of this slow food movement? You ever heard of that shit? I really think like we're like a civilization that's in desperate need of like a slow life movement. Yeah, to just bring things back down a little bit. But that's never going to happen. There's too much money in keeping stuff fast. Yeah.
There's too much perceived investment in keeping your life going. I mean, you told me today you read books on your phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great phone, but you could read a book on it. Right?
Yeah.
Do you think? I'm trying to lighten it up. I feel like we got real serious up here, and you know, I forgot the tie. I've got on the scarf. Do you think that there might be a full circle with some of the technology and possibly reaching a less attentive audience in shorter versions, maybe i.e. a resurgence or a renaissance of the short story? Is there anything you've seen that would indicate a plateau instead of a competitive nature of no time versus the luxury of time to sit and read and contemplate?
Don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that people are reading more poetry just because it's shorter. You know, my sense always comes back to the hope of this whole thing. The reason that this works. I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you guys know about writers. Like, unless you're like a god, for the most part, we're like broke. Yeah? And I mean like really broke. There's no money in it. There's absolutely no fame in it. Nobody stops you on the street and it's like, great short story. That doesn't happen, man. You know?
Not even great first novel?
Yeah, no. No, it doesn't happen. If you're an artist, you're certainly not in it for any kind of quantitative gain, right? Like money, fans, unless you're a god. But most of us are never going to be God, and God bless us.
You mean God writers or
people who are giants?
Okay.
People who are giants. You know,
I'm getting right with the Lord here.
So I think that's a good call. Yeah.